Guys, today I'm going to attack the fields of psychology and psychiatry. Before you leave, you need to know that the survey at the end will put you on the same side with me. If you'll just hang out to the end of this video, the survey that you hear at the end will absolutely confirm for you that these guys really don't know what's going on. Jeremiah 6:14 tells us that God was very angry. He said, "They heal the brokenness of my people superficially, saying peace, peace, when there is no peace." It is very interesting that God calls out here and he says, they, in general, and I would say that's the world, are offering solutions. They are offering some kind of healing. They are offering some kind of mental and emotional salve for God's people, but they're really not getting to the root of the problem. So the world can help you. They can help you to feel better temporarily. They can fix some issues for a small time period, but they never heal the deepest issues and the darkest part of mankind. God says, I am furious, I am upset, I am so angry because they are healing the brokenness of my people superficially, saying peace, peace, when there is no peace. I want you to look with me for a moment at different types of therapy and just see if you can figure out with me the problems here. One of the things that I saw recently was an article on psychotherapy, and it said psychotherapy is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Now, I had to add the word approach there, but what they were trying to do was creatively say, this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. That should immediately be a red flag that it doesn't work. Math works in every situation. The rules of God work in every situation. The rules of the universe always work. But when it comes to psychotherapy, you're unique, you're an individual, and thus we have to kind of, pick and choose what would work for you. And the article went further in saying, from behavioral to gestalt therapies, which approach will work best for you depends on your needs and your goals. I don't know about you, but when you go to the doctor or to a professional, they are supposed to have the answer. The answers aren't supposed to come from you. But they say for these therapies to work, it depends on your needs and your goals and your cooperation, not on necessarily what we know. One of the therapies that works the best is something called cognitive behavioral therapy. And it is basically learning to talk back against the negative things that come up in your life. And they're close to the truth because they are wanting you to focus on positive things. They say that there are negative beliefs underlying these negative emotions. But we're going to teach you how to talk back to those things. And so when these negative emotions arise, you say, hey, don't bother me. Hey, I'm going to think about good things. Hey, I choose not to feel like that today. Hey, that's not true. And you begin to talk back to your negative feelings, and that's supposed to fix the brokenness of mankind. The only problem with this is if you are actually sinning, if you are doing evil, if you are doing bad, you are supposed to feel awful, and talking back is not going to fix these things. If you begin to talk back to your emotions and you begin to talk back to your conscience, that's not going to work because as you continue to sin, you are going to feel bad unless you just sin so much that you burn your conscience, like the Bible tells us. So cognitive behavioral therapy fails because it doesn't deal with actions that should be fixing how you feel. There's also something called behavioral therapy. And this seeks to lift the mood of a person by slowly increasing the activities in their life that are fun, social, or physical. So, if you do the right activities, this is almost opposite of the cognitive behavioral therapy. If you do the right activities, then you're going to feel good. It's not about talking back. No, it's about doing the right activities. Guys, everybody under the sun has naturally done this. They're like, I don't feel good. Let's go party. Hey, I don't feel good from work. Hey, I'm going to go have a fabulous weekend. I don't feel good. Let's go on a vacation. everybody tries this method. It is good to balance life, but when you are dealing with deep brokenness in the heart of mankind, getting a little better activity in your life is not going to fix your emotional and your mental problems. Actually, what it'll do is give you a high that's going to let you descend a little lower into your problems. There's also something called the dialectical behavioral therapy, and this helps you to tolerate stress and navigate challenging interpersonal relationships. Well, yeah, I need to learn how to interact with people, because I actually make people mad. Like I'll bump into them and I'll say something wrong and it makes them angry, or I will tell them the truth and it makes them angry, or I won't even do anything and they get angry at me. So yeah, give me a therapy that shows me how to interact with human beings. I really need that. Well, what they recommend is mindfulness. Basically, they call it guided imagery, kind of like going to your happy place. Ta-da! I am now at my waterfall, and I am just seeing beautiful mist float across my face, and I hear slight music in the background and birds cawing and the lush greenery. It just fills my soul. The only problem is, my question for you is, which is stronger, which is more real? Your imagination, where you are trying to create something, or emotional fallout from very real things that have happened in your life? I can tell you which is going to win and which does win. And actually, I think practicing mindfulness in this regard might make things worse because, the first 25 times you try it, okay, I'm going to my happy place, going to the happy place. Well, what about when I come back to my senses and come back and I'm like, I'm not in my happy place, and that makes me unhappy. So 364 days a year, I find that I am not really happy. Yikes. Well, with this guided imagery, there's also something that they've come up with now that's called sensory grounding. You need to, when you become overwhelmed, you need to ground yourself in 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things you can hear, maybe 2 things that you can taste, and get grounded in this present moment. So this is acting almost as if your past wasn't real, and it's trying to get you hyper-focused on right now. I'm going to shove out my regular thinking and emotions, and I'm going to hyper-focus on this moment. What about when you start hyper-focusing that this person is red in the face, and you begin to hyper-focus that his fists are clenched, and you begin to hyper-focus that he is now yelling at me, and you learn how to hyper-focus on the moment, and you've hyper-focused that you have caused all kind of destruction. Hyper-focusing at that point is not going to be taking you in the right direction. There's also something called psychodynamics, and if you read through it and just kind of give it a summary, like, a redneck summary, and you just kind of read, it's like, you're basically paying for a friend. That is all kind of awful. It reminds me of prostitution. That's what it reminds me of. Paying for a friend, that's not really even a friendship. I don't think I need to further explain that. What about this gestalt therapy that's person-centered, and you're so unique, there's only one of you, so let's figure out how to engage you and to build you up and to make you who you need to be by your goals. And it is basically self-guided worship. Getting all your priorities and all your emotions in line. Really? Really? Has putting yourself first worked so far in your life? I don't think so. When you burn out from this, hopefully you'll be guided straight to the scriptures. Now, you probably think that I've been very unfair with all of this. But here's the reason it matters so much to me is because of Jeremiah 6:14. They have healed the brokenness of my people temporarily, superficially, in a light manner, but they never really got to the heart of the matter. They're saying peace, peace when there is no peace. These psychologists, these psychiatrists are saying, hey, come with me. Come with me. I will take you to peace. I will take you to the place of peace when they don't even know peace. A PhD by the name of William L. Mace wrote in an article on Psychology Today. Now, this is a doctor addressing other doctors, and it's open for human viewing, okay? This is out there for you to receive. He mentioned that in a recent survey, 46% of these psychologists and psychiatrists were depressed. 46%. And then he said 49.5% said that they felt like failures. And 70% said that they were under super high stress. Is that where you are going for help? It is like a 50% success rate. You know, like if we blend 46% and 49.5% and 70% together, you get less than 0.5%. There was a larger survey done back in '94 that said 61% of these professionals were depressed and 29% had suicidal thoughts. Now, I want to share this with you. This doctor actually thinks that the stats are worse than this. He said because we usually are only given the surveys that give us the best results. This is his territory. This is his field. He is writing for Psychology Today, and he says this is probably bogus statistics. It's probably worse than that. On top of that, our Bible teaches that men lie. Do you think that all of these professionals who are astute in society with high titles and high positions, do you think all of them are revealing the absolute truth of the way they feel? Because if they did, they might damage their own profession. So I'll bet you money there's some that are lying. And this doesn't even include the small percentage of this group that would actually be or would be Christians in the psychology and psychiatry fields. They're not going to feel depressed or overwhelmed because they're not giving the regular advice. They'd be giving Christian advice. So we need to subtract all of that from the figures I already gave you to show you how lame and lacking the fields of psychology and psychiatry actually are. God says he was upset throughout this chapter. He says, I'm upset because they are healing my people superficially and saying peace, peace when there is no peace. If you want to know the truth of the matter, keep reading the next two verses, 15 and 16, and you will find that God says, ask for the ancient paths. Look for the paths of righteousness and truth and walk down those paths. This is the theme of the whole entire Bible, by the way. But walk on these ancient paths. Do what is good and right, and you will have rest for your soul. How amazing, how awesome, how refreshing. When it's God versus psychologist and psychiatrist, God wins.